Welcome to episode 18 of the Tough Draw Talks podcast. I'm your host, Brad Hughes. Today, we are coming to you from Cowboy Christmas at the Las Vegas Convention Center for the 2021 NFR. We are blessed and fortunate today to be in the Lane Frost booth. Stetson Frost of the Lane Frost brand hooked us up with the spot, just like he did last year when we actually kicked the show off. So, we're sitting down, special episode today with Josh Frost. Appreciate you being along for the ride. Josh, we are excited to be here, and we're glad to have you on, man. How's it going?
Going good. Glad to be here talking to you guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So, with the podcast, we have some icebreaker type questions that we just jump in with. Just, quick, rapid-fire type stuff. If you could meet one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
It'd be my grandpa, Joe Frost. He heard a lot of cool stories about him. He passed away in a car wreck before I was born, and he's just a guy I always dreamed about meeting and think it'd be cool to talk to him.
Dude, yeah, heck yeah. What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie probably be Hidalgo.
Hidalgo?
Yep.
Why?
Just, it's a good story. It's a good cowboy movie, and that'd be I guess what to describe it for me. It's just a good cowboy story and one of the movies that makes you feel good watching it.
That's with Viggo Mortensen, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's interesting because when I think of cowboy movies, that's not usually one that I think of as a cowboy movie, but I guess you're right. That's pretty cool.
Yep. No, it's we actually just watched it the other day. I hadn't seen it for a long time and I kind of forgot about it, and I watched it the other day and I was kind of thinking, this is one of my favorite movies. So
that's cool, man. That's cool. So outside of bull riding, obviously, or rodeo in general, what are some of your favorite hobbies or things you like to do?
I'm probably not the best person to ask that question to, because I would say calf roping is my hobby. If I'm not riding bulls, I'm at home ranching, and my favorite thing to do is ride horses and rope calves. And so I'm either training to ride bulls, and if I'm not doing that, I'm at home roping. My wife, she breakaway ropes, and so we got a couple horses at the house and training a few and got one or two pretty good ones. And so that's kind of what we do in our spare times, rope calves and go to breakaway and calf ropings.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. All right, so Christmas coming up right around the corner. What's Santa bringing you?
I'm not for sure. I was looking for a new carry-on gear bag. I started carrying my gear on last year. They lost it at one of the rodeos I went to when I checked it, and so I figure, if I'm going, I might as well pack it with me. And so I had a kind of a cheaper built Wrangler bag that I used, and by the end of the year, it was holding together by tape and mainly just tape. And so that's what I'm hoping to get's a nice gear bag. So
man, isn't that, with how much you travel, isn't that crap that your bags get lost? Gosh.
No, it's part of it. A lot of guys check them, and like I said, I've checked my bags forever and never had any trouble, but said I was flying to Enid, Oklahoma, and get there, and bags didn't make it, and so I had to borrow some stuff, and had a bull drawn I'd stayed on before, and I know if I would have had on my own gear, I would have made the whistle, and so that was one of the things that I know I can control, and it's not as easy as checking it, but
there you go.
Is a good business decision, I think.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. So this question always gets a lot of interesting answers because there's a lot of ways people can take it, but what's the best compliment you've ever received?
Probably that I'm a hard worker or a cowboy. That's something I try to, be known as more than just a bull rider, and I like that aspect, and I feel like the cowboy is a dying breed, and I like to live my life by cowboy code, and I appreciate it when people notice that.
Definitely. Well, Cowboy Code, obviously, with your last name being Frost and us being in the Lane Frost brand booth, what does having that last name mean to you?
I guess, like you said a second ago, kind of goes with the Cowboy Code. And, even though I'm related to Lane, I grew up idolizing Lane, seen 8 Seconds 100 times and heard stories about him. And he was as cowboy as they come, and he lived by the Cowboy Code, and I want people to remember me like they remember Lane, with a smile on my face, taking the time to talk to anybody that wanted to talk to me, and it's pretty cool to be related to him, and pretty cool the example he set throughout the world.
So every time I go to a rodeo and you're there, the announcer, they always set the table with related to Lane Frost, the Frost last name. Do you hear that? Does it ever affect you, or is it just have you gotten to the point in your career where you're just kind of proud of it? You know that's coming, or what does that mean?
Definitely proud of it. You know, Lane was a world champion. He had the most success in the arena, but the Frost last name, like I said, there's a lot of rodeo history in the whole family, from Clyde making the NFR. My grandpa Joe, he rodeoed, and my dad rodeoed, my brother rodeoed. Like, it's dang sure in the blood, and so I take pride in the fact that my last name is Frost, and wouldn't say it's extra motivation, because I do think whatever my last name would have been, I probably would have been a bull rider.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, I'm definitely used to it, and I think it's cool, and it's also something that really makes me, Lane has left such a big impact. It's a really easy way to talk to people. I got the Lane Frost patch on my shirt, and people see that at the airport, and they're like, hey, and then I know that guy, or I seen that movie, and then I'm like, oh, I'm actually related to him.
Yeah.
And it's a good icebreaker to have conversations with people, and hopefully bring them closer to the sport. So
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So, I saw PRCA did my NFR, the little boards, kind of like my first day of school type thing. So do you even have like a walk-up song, or is it more of like the announcers always just take that airtime to talk about your relation to Lane? Like, is it like my walk-up song is I'm cousins to Lane Frost?
I guess you could say that. I'm not necessarily like JB, where I've got bad to the bone and they play it and everybody knows that it's me, but that would be a go-to. And like I said, it's an easy way for the announcers to, the fans love to hear it, and that would probably be my walk-up song. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, hearing it gives me chills when I hear it. So that's really cool. So you alluded to your family and stuff, so I want to take the time to check in. So obviously Joe made a lot of NFRs and went toe-to-toe with Sage, kind of in Sage's early years of being at the NFR, and then obviously your brother just went through a really tough time. How is everybody? Give us a little update on the family and how Jade's doing and everybody like that.
Family's doing good. Joe, he had to retire early. He'd got a blood clot. I'm sure a lot of people know that by now, and said he's just started the next phase of his life. He's got big into training border collies, and he's been going to some trials and kind of living that up. It replaced the bull riding passion for him, so that's been cool to see. And he's got another baby on the way, so that's pretty cool. It'll be his second one, and
that's awesome.
My little brother, he got in a bad car wreck up in Pendleton, and very lucky of how things turned out. And he's had several surgeries, but kind of off all the medication. And he got cleared to ride a horse last week, and so he's been
that's
out
great, man. That's great.
Helping us gather cattle, and he's going to make it up for the 10th round. So we're pretty lucky that things turned out the way it did.
Yeah. And I know it's tough to talk about, but when a tragedy like that happens in this community, talk a little bit about how the community comes together. Like, I'm sure tons of people reached out to you. Like, just talk a little bit about how that family knitting.
It's, that's the coolest part about rodeo, the whole Western lifestyle, and that's part of being a cowboy. Cowboys help each other, and the support we've received, we're super grateful for. And we'd never take that for granted, how many people reached out, and the love you feel from the community and stuff's amazing, and we're lucky to have it.
Well, we definitely had y'all in our prayers for sure, man. So I'm glad to hear everything's going better. Let's talk about a little positive note here. Lawton, Oklahoma, you rode Chiseled. So walk us through that ride a little bit. How was that going? Where were you at in your season? And was that kind of a tipping point for you, or just kind of a little bit of a fire starter?
There's a lot of backstory that actually goes into this. A lot of people haven't heard before. I'd actually drew Chiseled at Belle Fourche probably over the 4th of July, and super excited there. And we'd entered Belle Fourche and Mandan for the same day. Had to charter a plane to make both of them, and it was funny. I drew Chiseled at Belle Fourche, and then I draw safety meeting at Mandan. Two of the best bulls going. Yeah. And Chiseled made short work of me at Belle Fourche. I thought I was ready. Thought I knew how to ride him, and he kind of surprised me a little bit with how he felt. And then went up and I rode safety meeting that night and was 90 points, won Mandan. Well, a couple weeks later, we'd got doubled up at Sykeston, Missouri, and Lawton, Oklahoma. Well, Sykeston's draw comes out probably 30 minutes before Lawton, and I draw the best bull at Sykeston, right there into my hand, and They call him Suelo Fuego. He was a stockyards bull.
Yeah.
Like I get
Corey Melton.
Yep. I get the draw, and like instantly I buy my flight to Sykeston. I'm like, I'm going to Sykeston. There's no way I can draw a better bull. And then 30 minutes later, I get the draw for Lawton and got chiseled. And it was kind of a turning point, big confidence booster for me, because at the time I'd been riding into my hand a lot better. Chiseled goes right, Suelo Fuego goes left. And so it was more of a for sure deal of a win going to Sykeston. I was a lot more confident that I'd ride Suelo Fuego, but it was kind of a gut check, like, what am I going to tell my grandkids someday, or my kid, what's cooler? Suelo Fuego's a good bull, but Chiseled, bull of the year. And it was, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ride Chiseled. That's world champion, world champion dreams. And if you want to be the world champion, you ride Chiseled. And so I switched my flight and went to Lawton, and there was a lot of people that thought I was crazy for doing it, but I said a lot of work that went into it, and that was a good chance to prove it. And
I have goosebumps on but that's cool, man. I didn't know that. I mean, I know Suelo Fuego. I mean, he's an NFR bull. He's a great bull.
Yeah.
And that's that took some stones, man.
It was funny. Yeah, I posted, super excited, posted my video of me riding Chiseled, and Corey Melton gets on there and posted, you probably would have been 93 if you would have came to Sykeston.
Man, that's crazy. What is it? So, what is it about Chiseled? Because you've been on him twice, right? What is it about Chiseled that makes him the bull of the year? What makes him so solid?
Super showy. He's Page bull. They're as explosive. Their breeding program's explosive. Every one of their bulls you get on kind of has a certain style. Like they're so athletic, you never even feel them hit the ground. Like they're just, everything's happening fast, and when you're in the right spot, they feel amazing. And he's won a lot of. They've rode him several times, but it's mainly been right-handed guys. For a guy into your hand, he's a lot easier to ride. And Jose and Jess are the only two lefties that have ever stayed on him until I drew him. And
that's awesome.
I'd kind of I watched a lot of videos of him and thought I knew what to expect the first time, and he just felt a little different. He kind of pulled. I thought he was going to be moving away from me, and he was wanting to come to me. And so the second time, I was kind of ready for that filling, and let him pick me up and just rode him through the whistle.
That's awesome. So, like you said, that was kind of a gut check moment. So where were you at in your season, and kind of how did that springboard your 2021 season? Because you had a great year.
Yep.
You really did.
The year had been great. I was probably borderline, had the finals made at that point, and that was kind of the first time I drew him when I was doubled up. Same thing, had one away from my hand, one into my hand, probably going to win both rodeos. That was when it was still wasn't a for sure thing, and so we were having actually a hard time finding an airplane at the time. And so I decided that if we don't find the airplane, I'm going to go get on safety meeting instead of Chiseled. And luckily we ended up getting it sorted out. Yeah. Well, by the time we get to August, had the finals made, and so it was a better time of year to take the gamble to go and, both bulls were good bulls, and you'd been proud of riding both of them. But middle of August, I'd been struggling a little bit that was my weaker point. I was probably riding 80-90% of the bulls that went left and closer to 20-30% that went right. And so it was a good chance to be like, okay, this is what I've really been working on and focusing on. Now let's go do it on the rankest bull in the world. And
heck yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. And just to reset, we are live at the Cowboy Christmas at the Las Vegas Convention Center 2021 NFR. We are actually on the floor at the Lane Frost brand booth, recording live. So if you hear some noise in the background, we're just continuing on and powering through. Man, Josh, we really, really appreciate you being here. So we talked about bull riding, but you do more than just bull riding. So I know you were in the all-around race. Talk to us a little bit about what else you do and kind of how you divide your time.
I rope calves and steer wrestle too. One of my goals every year is to win the Linderman Award, and this was my second year in a row winning it. And to win that, you have to win 1,000 in 3 events. One of them has to be at the opposite end of the arena. So I do 1 rough stock, 2 timed events, and I'm a big time calf roper. I love roping calves. When I'm home, I rope calves almost every day, and ultimate goal is to make the NFR at both ends of the arena. But right now it's kind of hard split my time because I'm super competitive in the bull riding and really want to get that gold buckle. And so especially this year, I really focused on the bull riding and entered the timed events last, got qualified for the Linderman was kind of the main goal, and like I said, got qualified for the all-around. You got to have 3,000 in 2 events, and I won right at 5,000 in the calf roping, and then the steer wrestling, I'm 150 pounds, so that's kind of my little bit harder to win 1,000 over there, but I love the steer wrestling too. I've been jumping steers since my freshman year of high school and grew up doing it, and so it's pretty cool to be out there competing against the guys that are, the pro rodeos are crazy tough in the steer wrestling, and so I'm pretty proud that I'm even able to win $1,000. And it makes for a crazy schedule. This was the first year I actually rodeoed with Sage this year for the first time, and he's bull riding all the time, and so that was when he asked me. He's like, how often are we going to be entering them timed events? And it was kind of funny. We actually when we went to Reno, I'd entered the calf roping at Reno, and he's got him a super nice RV, and we were trying to figure out the travel plans, and he was like, heck, just we'll hook the pull behind on the RV. And so we hooked my pull behind trailer on, and so Sage was looking like a timey for at least one rodeo. But
That's cool, man. So you talked about wanting to be remembered as a cowboy, and I feel like based on I have to be honest, I had to look up exactly what the Linderman was like to qualify. I mean, I figured it had to do with both ends of the arena, obviously, but because all around and different things like that. But I mean, that's about as cowboy as it comes. two and one. I mean, geez, that's a lot.
It's pretty prestigious. That there's a lot of guys that can do 2 events, but the third event's what adds the mix to it. And like I said, it's a challenge for me. Like I said, I have to, when in my spare time, like I said, I spend time jumping steers and staying tuned up. And like I said, I'll be off riding bulls for 3 days and show up at a rodeo in Utah, and the wife or my dad will be there with the bulldogging horse and calf roping horse, and I'll be in all 3 that day.
Dang. That's awesome, dude. So you alluded to it. You traveled with Sage. So that was just this year, right? So how's it been traveling with Sage, and what do you feel like, because rodeo, we talked about how tight-knit it is and stuff like that. Like, what is it about Sage that, how did that start? Like, did you ask him? Who proposed to who? Of who could get in the trailer with it?
It was, it was kind of an honor. It was cool that Sage actually proposed to me.
Man. Gosh, Alexis, I'm sorry.
And it was not that we both were, when you pick a traveling partner, you're looking, you need somebody that's going to motivate you. And we both seen something. I'd always thought it would be cool to rodeo with Sage. How do you not want to go with the guy that's a 6-time world champion? He's the best going, and probably going to end up being one of the best there's ever been. And said after he got beat, Stetson defeated him last year, first time he didn't win the world. And so the 2020 season was rougher on him. It was crazy year rodeoing. The rodeos were smaller, a lot more travel, and so he knew he needed to go with somebody that was really hungry and wanting to go out there and hit the trail. And like I'd said, how do you not want to go with Sage Kimsey? Whatever he's been doing is working. And so he wanted to go with me because he knew I was hungry for it, and he'd seen it early in the year. I mean, 2021 kicked off, and if they had a rodeo or a bull ride, and I was entered at it. And
100%.
It's a lot easier when you're in the vehicle with 2 people, especially come middle of August. You've been to 100 rodeos, and you got a 12-hour drive ahead of you. And if you look at your traveling partner and he goes, I don't really want to go, and you're kind of thinking you don't want to go, it gets real easy just to turn out and not go. And that's one thing that I said, I crave the bull riding, and I'm going, I'm entered, and it's a chance to win money, and I want a gold buckle. And so, and there was 2 or 3 times this summer, it was pretty funny that we were entered in a smaller rodeo, and it was right after Cheyenne. Sage he got bucked off, but he made the finals, and we were up at Rock Springs the same night, and Preston the next day, and Sage looks at me and he said, you want to go? And I said, I'm going. And he goes, well, I'm just staying here. I don't want to go. You can take the RV. And then 30 seconds later, he's like, you know what? If you're going, I'm going to go too. And so we hopped in and went to him, and he ended up winning Preston. And it was cool to see that aspect. And I'm glad I think I helped contribute to his season. And it was, he's one of the most competitive people I've ever been around. And so it's pretty pretty cool rodeoing with the guy that every time you show up, that's the goal, to win first place. And I'm super competitive, and I think we kind of thrived off each other,
That's great.
Wanted to win first and second. We both wanted to be first, but he's the first person I've ever been with that, it don't matter where you're at. Like that's what gets him going, is winning first place. And you see that's what he does. And
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. That's really cool. So with a traveling partner, it's like, you feed off of each other, and that's a great person to feed off of, I'm sure. So, we actually, I've met you before, like at tough events and different things like that, but we got to sit down in Cheyenne. Not to go too in-depth on the documentary and stuff, just in general, what does it mean to you that something is being done about Lane, and just to kind of preserve that family history and different things like that? Talk a little bit about that.
I think it's awesome. Like I said, there's been a few little things done. Obviously 8 seconds, which there was some accurate stuff, but you wouldn't say it was a documentary. It was a Hollywood movie. Yeah. But we talked before here, and you were telling me about all the stuff, the pictures you've been getting, and it's gonna, like I said, I think it's gonna be a big hit. The support you guys are gonna get, and I think even after 8 seconds, everybody was super, super hungry for more information about Lane. And like I said, I get asked all the time, and I can't imagine all the stuff people ask Clyde and Elsie. And so I think it's gonna bring a lot more to the sport and show more about what he was about. And like I said, he's probably 80% of the bull riders going grew up idolizing Lane Frost, and so it's gonna bring a lot more to that. And I think everybody's hungry for more Lane. For
sure. So alluding to that, we talk a lot on this podcast and just in general, because you've done PBR and PRCA. What are the differences, and what do you think? And just to reset, as the loudspeaker goes, we are at the Las Vegas Convention Center for Cowboy Christmas 2021 NFR at the Lane Frost brand booth, recording live. But going back to PBR and PRCA, obviously for a guy like you that wants to be a cowboy, multiple events, stuff like that, but talk a little bit about the differences. What are the differences? Just, travel, difficulty of bull, different thing like that. Is there a lot, or is it more balanced than a lot of people probably give it credit for?
It's more balanced than a lot of people give it credit for. More or less, if any complaints any PRCA bull rider has with the PRCA, the PBR's fix that. The bulls are better. Re-ride, if you don't have a 20-point bull, you get a re-ride.
Yep.
And like I said, there's a lot of money available in both, and so that's either one you're at. If you're riding your bulls, you're going to be making a pretty good living. But the rodeo, like I said, it's the prestige of it and the history is what's hard to beat. Every year I get to look, and then, like I said, at some point I'm going to go to more PBRs, and I think the association's great. The bulls are awesome. The money's amazing. You got probably better sponsorship opportunities over there.
Yeah.
But you get to looking at the schedule, and it's like, how do you miss Houston, San Antonio, and you have to miss these big rodeos that most of them pay similar to that PBR event, and over the long run, like I said, both of them are great. But when you go to the PBR, you walk in and every PBR looks the exact same, whether you're in Los Angeles or Fort Worth. But they all, they have put them on in bigger stages and bigger cities and stuff. But the prestige and history of the rodeo road is something I love, and like I said, there's just nothing like riding at Pendleton and the rodeos that Lane rode at and the Jim Shoulders rode at. These rodeos have 100-year histories. And like I said, there's a few of them I got to check off the list and get the buckle from before you're going to see me going to too many PBRs. But
for sure, man.
The bull power at the PBR, that's we have to get on some bulls that probably don't deserve to be at a high school rodeo, whereas at the PBR, it's you're getting on a 20-point plus bucker every time, and you make the short round, you're going to get the chance to make history. There's several. I got lucky this year. I drew Chisel twice, but there's guys in the PBR that have been on him 4 times. You know? You look at JB and Bushwhacker, he got 13 tries at him. You know? Every time I get bucked off, I'm like, man, if they'd run him in again, I know I could ride him. And that's the one cool part over there is you get the chance to get on the greatest bulls every week. And that's, if you're a bull rider, that's what you live for, you know.
For sure.
The 90-point rides and riding the unridden or the greatest bull, or it's, like I said, it's cool to see how far the PBRs came and how much support there is out there for the Western lifestyle and bull riding in general.
100%. Man, and, you know, we're here at the NFR. This is your second NFR. So far, you hadn't had a lot of luck. I feel like that tide is changing. It's going to change. But what do you know, just kind of reflecting, I know I read a deal, I guess it was about your green shaps or whatever from last year. You know, what is it about when you're kind of in a slump or you've kind of hit a wall with something? As a bull rider, what's your mentality? What do you do? How do you change things up? Like, you know, the shaps thing that I read, I don't know if that was true or not, but, you know, the green shaps or whatever. But talk a little bit about that.
You know, it's hard. And that was like I said, first year of 2019, I made it and thought I was ready, and it didn't go good. I fell off all 10. I did stay on one in the 9th round, but he ran off and took the re-ride and ended up bucking off that one. And so,
which that's what cowboys do.
Oh yeah.
So I don't blame you at all for that.
And like that was a hard decision at the time because you hate to be the guy that don't ride any, and so that was a big learning experience for me. And I changed a lot of things. It made my bull riding better. I kept pushing, and for going 3-4 years without making the finals, it took a lot of work to make the first one. And then to get here and have it not go good motivated me more, and just missed the finals in 2020. I had a pretty bad injury at Fort Worth that took me out for a couple months, and said this year's been a great year, and dang sure changed my training program up a little bit. And like I said, this one started off a little slow, but I'm more mentally mature than I was in 2019, and you know that's the bull rider, we get bucked off. You know, the Sage, best bull rider in the world, he rode 65%. So he's going to might buck off 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. You know, it's okay to get bucked off, but don't start changing. You know, I've spent my whole life preparing for this, and spent 2 months really hammering down, getting on practice bulls, and I know how to ride bulls. And that's the big part, is if you can keep your mind in the right place and not panic when things don't go good, because you're going to get an opportunity for things to go good. And if you've lost your mental state, you're not going to be able to capitalize on that opportunity. And I feel this year I'm a lot better mentally, and it's said the first 2 nights didn't go good, but we got another bull tonight, and we're going to come out swinging.
Oh yeah. Well, not only do I think you're going to ride it, I think you're going to get a round buckle at least this year. So I will be continuing to root you on, just like we will with the podcast. So we do have some fan questions. So Landon asked, how do you stay focused?
A lot of work goes into it, and especially, all year long, the mental game's a big part of it. We talked about it a little bit. You've been on 100 rodeos. You're tired. You're sore. And that's where the love for the sport comes in, and keeping that end goal in mind. I want to be a world champion, and to be a world champion, it's not easy. You got to go out and put in the work, and that's a big part. I know how to ride bulls. It's a matter of doing it every day and figuring out to go into depth, your like I call it your IPS, like your internal performance state, to get the right, not to be too hyped up, not to be too sleepy. And I've really zeroed that in to know where I need to be mentally, and my warm up and what I eat during, there's so many variables that you can control that affect your mental state and your confidence. And it's different for every person. And so that's a big thing, is figure out the days that you had success and try to duplicate that over and over again, because the way I look at it is if you've done it once, you can do it every day. It's just a matter of figuring out what was that special mix. Like, I'm not saying you got to make sure you wake up and get out of the right side of the bed, but there's little things during your day that can set you up for success later on. And I spent a lot of time really zeroing those in for myself, and making sure, there's so many things that are out of your control in the sport of rodeo, that if you can figure out the things you can control that are going to help you be successful, take advantage and do those, and it's going to help you have success in the long run.
Kind of like the gear bag thing you were alluding to, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. So another question is, Easton asks, what bull have you not been on that you want to get on?
That's a good question. There's a lot of them. Like I said, every rodeo you go to, like I said, you're always watching for that bull that you want to have your name next to. And I've been on him. I'm getting to the point that I've been on a lot of them, but I'm trying to think at the NFR here which one I'd really like to see by my name that I haven't got to get on yet. And I'm having a hard time with that one.
Just in general, is there any bulls, even watching PBRs and stuff, is there any bulls that you see over there that
I think I'd like to see my name by Whoopah. That really? One there is pretty cool.
Do you ride left-handed?
I do ride left-handed.
Because that's the success, the key factor that I've seen is Jose, Boudreaux, Dalton.
Yeah. No, that bull's a left-hander's dream, and that was I alluded to that earlier when we were talking about the PBR, the great bulls, and like I said, that's one of them. Bull of the year over there, and I'd love to see my name by him.
Yeah. So Doug asks, when you're focusing on roping, your calf roping, and you think long term, like, is that something you'll continue to do, like even if you hang it up from bull riding, still continue to PRCA, still continue to rope and stuff like that? Is that kind of a plan?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I crave the calf rope and I love it. And said busy right now with the bull riding, like I said, spending as much time as I can roping calves. And I live in Utah, so it gets cold in the winter time, and so right now the goal is to figure out to get try to get at least some sort of indoor setup at the house where I can rope calves in the winter, because that's when I'm home the most and would have the chance to practice. And, like I said, I spent a lot of time at it and got big goals in the calf roping, and my wife, she breakaways a lot, and she's got big goals there to make the NFR, and so like I said, as long as I'm healthy and can keep doing it, I'm going to keep roping calves. And I love training horses, love calf horses. And like I said, you're going to see me on the timed event side for many years to come. So
Belinda asks, what's your favorite ride that you've had? Is it probably Chiseled?
Chiseled would be the top. I had 4 or 5 this year that were kind of them notorious bulls, and Chiseled's at the top, highest score bull of the year.
Yep.
Another cool one for me was Moses Lake, Washington. I was 90 points there. I rode a bull, Mike Corey's, called Billy Hell, and I got bucked off the night before in Gooding and piled up pretty good, separated my shoulder and chipped a little bone in it. And almost didn't go, but I was so excited to have Billy Hell. I was like, man, I know I can win, and stopped and got an x-ray, and the doctor's like, well, you got a little bone chip, but if it don't hurt too bad, you can try it. And it was, like I said, that there was a lot of mental fortitude that went into that one, but like I said, I ended up staying on him, was 90 points and won Moses Lake, so that one's up there with Chiseled too, just because of the backstory behind it. And
so you just alluded to it, the toughness factor that it takes. Like, just what is the mentality like? JB got wrecked out last night, and I was talking to Kai earlier. He thinks JB might try to go tonight. Like, I mean, what is it about, like, as a bull rider, do you just understand and expect that you're going to be injured, or what is the mentality?
It's dang sure part of it. On the JB note, I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't get on. He's after watching him all year, like I said, he's as tough as anybody going. This was a crazy year for Shane Proctor this year. He was riding with a broken leg, dislocate. He got on him. He had to get on it. He dislocated his shoulder at Ellensburg and had to get on his short round bull to place in the average. And his shoulder was literally dislocated. And he got on another bull because if he got on, he'd place in the average. And that's part of being a bull rider. You take a lot of pride in that, and not all guys do. That's part of the mental part of it. It's you got to be smart to know, like, at what point should I not get on, but at what point can you handle the pain and still be successful? And
for sure,
it's not easy at all. And that was even going with Sage. He got his ankle stepped on at Spanish Fork, and I mean, probably had no business getting on a bull. And I think he only took 1 day off during that whole experience. And it's motivating to see guys do that. And we wouldn't say it's a competition to see who's the toughest, but like
It matters, though.
If it was easy, everybody'd do it.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, if you want a gold buckle, you better get out there and get to work, because it's part of the sport, and you got to learn how to take care of yourself, but also, too, like, at what point do you need to toughen up and get on, and there's a difference between just getting on and being tough enough to get on and make the whistle.
For sure. Watching the PBR World Finals this past year, back in November, watching Eli, who's a good friend of ours, like, that was emotional every time he rode, and he just kept going 90, you know.
No, it was
He'd get off and he couldn't even walk.
Unreal. Like I said, I'm super good friends with Eli.
Yep.
I was at the Velocity Finals. He actually, his wife had just had their twins, and it was, like I said, I was super excited for him. I'm a huge Eli Vastbinder fan. He said he's rodeoed for several years, and I was super excited for him.
And, you know, okay, and I'm asking you to kind of take a guess, but, you know, he did just have the twins, and Paige was with them and stuff. Like, is there sometimes in your mind as a bull rider that you just got to keep going because you got to take care of your family and stuff like that, too?
Yeah, like, I'm sure that was part of it.
I know with Eli being so close in the rookie race and knowing that there was that big of a check, you know, I'm going to have him on at some point again, because he was actually one of our very first episodes at last year's NFR. But, yeah, I just kept thinking about, like, the emotion was there because it's like he's doing this for his family.
No, I'm sure that was a big gut check, and it probably helped motivate him too, you know, like, what are you going to tell your daughters? Oh, my ribs hurt and I quit. You know, and Sage had a story about that when last year he was struggling and kind of was during the regular season wanted to go home, and Alexis just said to me, what are you going to tell your son someday? What'd you do? And, you know, it's cool having that support, hearing those stories. It makes me excited to be a dad. And,
for sure,
you know, I think riding bulls alone is difficult, and it's even harder when you have kids, but you see a lot of guys that helps them with the motivation because they've got a family to feed and this is their job. And what do you want to tell your children? How do you show up when things are hard?
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, somebody asked this question, but I don't know that you really have an answer. What would you be doing if you weren't in rodeo?
Probably, if I were in rodeo, would be hard. I would probably be teaching high school. I got my degree in ag education.
Okay.
I actually did my student teaching. I didn't make the finals. I broke my leg. I won San Antonio's Extreme. This was in 2017.
Yeah.
And moved up, won like 30,000, won rodeo. Break my leg the next week and come back from that. And like I said, I ended up top 30 in the world that year.
Yeah.
A little low on money, so I'd started subbing. Well, I got a phone call from the place I did my student teaching, and they had an opening they had a issue where the teacher couldn't be there for a few months, and so they needed a fill-in welding teacher. And I was like, okay, perfect. So I took the job. Told them I was going to be rodeoing still, and so I taught full-time for 3 months. I did love it. Loved the high school kids, loved welding, loved getting out hands-on stuff. And when I got done with that, they'd offered me the full-time, like they were like, we want you full-time, like, do you want the job? And it was, like I said, hadn't made the finals yet. It said 17 to 18 was when this happened, or 18 to 19. So I was teaching the spring of 2019, and I kind of talked to my dad, and I was like, what do I do? Like, this guaranteed job, insurance, all this, you know. And, he just said, well, you start riding bulls better or take the job. And at that point was really when I started treating bull riding like a job. And that was 2019 was the first year I made the NFR, and to put it simple, I started riding bulls better. So
well, that's funny because I actually you know, with my film background and stuff, I taught, I came home from finishing school. I was living out in LA. I came home and was just going to plan on like doing freelance stuff. And my high school that I went to had an opening for a media teacher. And I was like, I don't know that I want the job, you know, because I was still a kid. I was 21. And I actually got hired by my high school for 3 months, kind of like a long-term sub type position. So that's funny. That's actually because, you know, I mean, I gave it some consideration, you know, because we talked about what the position would be, and it's kind of like what you're saying. But that was where it was like, okay, kind of like what you're saying. It's like I'm either going to bear down and go make movies and do film, or I'm going to take this and just have, you know, a normal life, quote unquote, you know. So, man, that's cool. Well, Josh, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming to sit down and obviously coming to the booth and signing autographs and stuff for everybody. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans, whether it be your fans of the sport in general, just kind of anything that you'd like to share with them?
Just, I guess the biggest thing, we appreciate all you guys. You know, there wouldn't be a sport of rodeo if it wasn't for the fans, and you guys are what it's all about, and we love the support, love that you come and watch us, love the support you give to the industry, love everybody that's Lane Frost fan, Josh Frost fan, and just, if you see me, come say hi.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you.
He's very approachable. So, man, and again, you know, fans, we appreciate y'all listening and tuning into the podcast as well. And Josh, where can people find you on social media?
Instagram, Facebook. Give me a follow on Instagram. I think it's Josh Frost 16. Just search me, pop up. You'll know me. There's a picture of me riding bulls and a lot of bull riding videos. Just got on the TikTok. So
there you go. He's all over it. And be sure and follow along with us on social media as well, at Tough Draw and at Tough Draw Talks, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. For more episodes of the podcast as we continue to bring you closer to the rodeo community. Until next time, everyone, enjoy the ride.